Hey, welcome back to Adult Brain Audiobooks. I'm Graham, one of the narrators here. I'm doing another experimental live read here just of this book that I'm picking my way through called The MAGUS, or Celestial Intelligencer, being a complete system of occult philosophy. I should look at the camera, I guess. I'm not good at that. The book. So this is for information entertainment purposes only, especially this book too. It's more of a grimoire, so we do not recommend practicing any part of this book. Just, so if you're experienced or whatever you want to do, that's fine. But yeah, anyways, today we're going to be talking about part 2, the Cabalistic magic. We're going to be talking about chapters. Let me just scroll down here and see chapters probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to be talking about the keeper of man, the angels, the annoyance of evil spirits, of the order of evil spirits, their fall, of intelligences and spirits and angels and all that good stuff. So this is where it gets kind of fun. I'm going to show you how we do it. We are humans here. This is kind of how I do it. Not exactly because I would have full screens if I wasn't live. I'm going to share my screen here. This book was written in 1901. It's interesting book, but this is how I'm doing it. But I've got these obviously half screens here, so it's a little more awkward than I normally would do it. Let me just do a quick test here. Check. That's working okay. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to record it and edit it as I go. So this is pretty rough. Hopefully I can stay focused and be fairly smooth. This is where the book gets interesting, I would say. Well, it's been interesting too, but sometimes it's a little obscure. Chapter 6. Of intelligences and spirits, and of the threefold kind of them, and of their different names, and of infernal and subterraneous spirits. Now, consequently, we must discourse of intelligences, spirits, and angels. An intelligence is an intelligible substance, free from all gross and putrefying mass of a body, immortal, insensible, assisting all, having influence over all, and the nature of all intelligences, spirits, and angels is the same. But I call angels here not those whom we would usually call devils, but spirits so called from the propriety of the word, as it were, knowing, understanding, and wise. But of these, according to the tradition of magicians, there are 3 kinds. The first of which we call supercelestial, and minds altogether separated from a body, as it were, intellectual spheres worshiping only one God. All right, I'm just going to pull this down and get into this. I'm going to redo that sentence. I messed it up a couple times, so. And minds altogether separated from a body. Yeah, so I'm going to do it from that semicolon right there. The first of which we call supercelestial, and minds altogether separated from a body, and, as it were, intellectual spheres worshiping one only God, as it were, their most firm and stable unity or center. Wherefore they even call them gods by reason of a certain participation of the divinity, for they are always full of God. These are only about God, and rule not the bodies of the world, neither are they fitted for the government of inferior things, but infuse the light received from God unto their inferior others. That was wrong, and it's wrong to the point where I need to redo it. But infuse the light received. Yeah, that's a long sentence too. I'm gonna cheat it and go right here. Cheat the sentence. I shouldn't do this, but infuse the light received from God unto the inferior orders, and distribute everyone's duty to all of them. The celestial intelligences do not follow these in the next do next follow these. Just got to make sure that level is okay. I've got a cold, something wrong with my sinuses. I'm going to try not snorting too much, but it's going to loosen everything up as I read here. The celestial intelligences do next follow these in the second order, which they call worldly angels, these being appointed, besides the divine worship for the spheres of the world and for the government of every heaven and star, whence they are divided into so many orders as there are heavens in the world, and as there are stars in the heavens. And they are called these Saturnine, who rule the I'm just going to redo that quickly. And they called these Saturnine, who ruled the heaven of Saturn and Saturn himself, others Jovial, who rule the heaven of Jupiter and Jupiter himself. And in like manner they name different angels as well for the name as the virtue of the other stars. And because the old astrologers maintained 55 motions, therefore they invented so many intelligences or angels. They placed also in the starry heaven angels who might rule the signs, triplicities, decans, quinaries, degrees, and stars. For although the school of peripatetics assign only one intelligence to each of the orbs of the stars, yet seeing every star and small part of the heaven hath its proper and different power and influence, it is necessary also that it have its ruling intelligence, which may confer power and operate. Therefore they have established 12 princes of the angels, who rule the 12 signs of the zodiac, and 36 who may rule so many decans, and 72 who may rule so many quinaries of heaven, and the tongues of men and nations, and 4 who may rule the triplicities and elements, and 7 governors of the whole world, according to the 7 planets. And they have given to all of them names and seals, which they call characters, and use them in their invocations, incantations, and carvings, describing them in the instruments of their operations, images, plates, glasses, rings, papers, wax lights, and such like. And if at any time they operated for the sun, they invocated by the name of the sun and by the names of solar angels, and so of the rest. Thirdly, they established angels as ministers for the disposing of those things which are below, which Origen called certain invisible powers, to which those things which are on earth are committed to be disposed of. For sometimes they, being visible to none, do direct our journeys and all our business, are often present at battles, and by secret helps do give the desired success to their friends. For at their pleasure they can procure prosperity and inflict adversity. In like manner, they distribute these into more orders, so as some are fiery, some watery, some aerial, some terrestrial, which 4 species of angels are computed according to the 4 powers of the celestial souls, viz., the mind, reason, imagination, and vivifying and moving nature. Hence, the fiery follow the mind of the celestial souls, whence they concur to the contemplation of more sublime things. But the Ariel follow reason and favor the rational faculty, and after a certain manner separate it from the sensitive and vegetative. Therefore, it serves for an active life, as the fiery, the contemplative, but the watery follow the imagination, serve for a voluptuous life, the earthly, following nature, favors vegetable nature. Moreover, they distinguish also this kinds of angels into Saturnine and Jovial, according to the names of the stars and the heavens. I'm about to sneeze. Let's see. I want to just scroll down. There's a couple views, so I'm going to go scroll up and just click this this here to show you. This is the pictures in the book. Kind of creepy. Fallen Angels, Plate 1. Now the problem is, I'm trying to read what that says. Is that a deceiver, Apollyon, and I'm not sure what that says. Spells, refills of iniquity. I have a PDF too. Yeah, you know what? Actually, this PDF is way better. I'm going to stop sharing that. Go back to here. Hopefully, I don't ruin this whole broadcast, but I'm going to go to here. This is the PDF I have too. I'm actually reading from sacred texts. They're much. It's easier to read. This book is so old that it's got F's instead of S's. so it's impossible to read. Um, but this is, let me zoom in a bit here. A deceiver, maybe that one says. Spells of iniquity. So these are the plates in this Apollyon, Belial. I'm going to scroll down and show you some of the other ones while we're here. Asmodeus. So these are vessels of wrath here. Asmodeus, Theatus, it looked like, and Incubus, the incubus right there, all smiles. Ophis, the spirit Antichrist. Wow, that's interesting. It looks like Francis Barrett might have done these sketches himself. Astaroth. And then this looks like the evil demons here, powers of evil. Abaddon and Mammon. So I think that's it, but I'll just quickly share the when I go past those plates in the way I'm reading it, I will just share that quickly. This entire screen over there. So now we're back to this. Now I got to remember where it was. According to the names of the stars and the heavens. Let's see here. Where was I? There. Okay, I did stop there. Okay, so farther, some are Oriental, some Occidental, some Meridional. Meridional. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this now. Farther, some are Oriental, some Occidental, some Meridional, some septen. Just going to redo that. Septentrional. Farther, some are Oriental, some Occidental, some Meridional, some Septentrional. Moreover, there is no part of the world destitute of the proper assistance of these angels, not because they are alone, but because they reign there especially. For they are everywhere, although some especially operate and have their influence in this place, some elsewhere. Neither truly are these things to be understood as though they were subject to the influence of the stars, but as they have correspondence with the heaven above the world, from whence especially all things are directed, and to which all things ought to be conformable. Whence, as these angels are appointed for diverse stars, so also for diverse places and times. Not that they are limited to any place or time, neither by the bodies which they are appointed to govern, but because the divine wisdom hath so decreed. Therefore they favor more. Excuse me. Burping up my coffee. Therefore they favor more and patronize those bodies, places, times, stars. So they have called some diurnal, some nocturnal, and others meridional. In like manner, some are called woodmen, some mountaineers, some fieldmen, some domestics. Hence the gods of the woods, country gods, satyrs, familiars, fairies of the fountains, fairies of the woods, nymphs of the sea, the Naiades, Nereides, dryads, Pierides, hamadryads, Padumides, Hinides. Let me just check with my assistant on the pronunciations here in this one. Where is my assistant? Did I close him down? Okay, let me just check here. I had checked a couple of these Heliconides, Castellides. There, a lot of them are pretty easy to pronounce, but let me just check here. It's today. I knew these were coming up, but It's that agape one. Okay, yeah. Did he miss that? Oh, agapti, Hinides, agapti, pales, parcades, Hinides, agapte, pales, parcades, dodoni, phenili, leverni, parse, muses, aeonides, Castilides, Heliconides, Pegasides, Maeonides, Phoebadiades. Phoebadiades? That doesn't sound right. Phoebadiades, 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 Maeonides, Maeonides, Phoebadiades. Where am I here? Carnicae. That's an awesome one there. Camini. Oh, that's wrong. Carnini. Carnini. The grace is the genie. Carnini, the graces, the genie, hobgoblins, and such like, whence the vulgar call them superiors, some the demigods and goddesses. Some of these are so familiar and acquainted with men that they are even affected with human perturbations, by whose instructions Plato thinks that men do oftentimes wonderful things, even as by the instruction of men. Some beasts which are most nigh to us, apes, dogs, elephants, do often strange things above their species. And they who have written the chronicles of the Danes and Norwegians do testify that spirits of several kinds in those regions are subject to men's commands. Moreover, some of these appear corporeal and mortal, whose bodies are begotten and die. Yet to be long lived is the opinion of the Egyptians and Platonists, and especially approved by Proclus, Plutarch, also in Demetrius. Well, that didn't work out. And especially, just going to go back to the beginning of that one there. Yet to be long lived. Huh. Kind of scroll up while I can. Yet to be long lived is the opinion of the Egyptians and Platonists, and especially approved by Proclus, Plutarch also, and Demetrius, the philosopher, and Emilianus, the rhetorician, affirm the same. Thereof these spirits of the third kind, as the opinion of the Platonists is, they report that there are I'm going to cheat that sentence right there. They report that there are so many legions as there are stars in the heaven, and so many spirits in every legion as in the heaven itself stars. But there are, as Athanasius delivers, who think that the true number of the good spirits is according to the number of men, 99 parts according to the parable of the 100 sheep. Others think only 9 parts according to the parable of the 10 goats. Others suppose the number of the angels equal with men, because it is written, He that hath appointed the bounds of the people according to the number of the angels of God. And concerning their number, many have written many things, but the latter theologians, following the masters of the sentences, Austin and Gregory, easily resolve themselves, saying that the number of the good angels transcendeth human capacity, to the which, on the contrary, innumerable unclean spirits do correspond, there being so many in the inferior world as pure spirits in the superior. And some divines affirm that they have received this by revelation. Under these, they place a kind of spirits subterraneous or obscure, which the Platonists call angels that failed, revengers of wickedness and ungodliness, according to the decree of the divine justice. And they call them evil angels and wicked spirits because they often annoy and hurt, even of their own accord. Of these also they reckon more legions, and in like manner, distinguishing them according to the names of the stars and elements and parts of the world, they place over them kings, princes, and rulers, and the names of them. Of these, four most mischievous kings rule over the other, according to the four parts of the world. Under these, many more princes of legions govern, and many private officers. Hence the Gorgons, Statenocte, 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 and many private officers. Hence the Gorgon. Check. Statenocte. Hence the Gorgons. Stenocte. No. Statenocte. Hence the Gorgons. Statenocte. The Furies. Hence Tisiphone, Alecto, Megara, Cerberus. They of this kind of spirits, Porphyry says, inhabit a place nigh the earth, within the earth itself. There is no mischief which they dare not commit. While I'm burping and stuff, I'm going to show this. This is that one. I was showing it earlier, but there's the one from the website. There is no mischief which they dare not commit. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Check. They have altogether a violent and hurtful nature. Therefore they plot and endeavor violent and sudden mischiefs. And when they make incursions, sometimes they lie hid, and sometimes often they lie hid. Where am I here? Right at the bottom, and I still can't find it. And they make sometimes, and when they make, I'm going to start that right there again. And when they make incursions, sometimes they lie hid, and sometimes offer open violence, and are often very much delighted in all such things done wickedly and mischievously. Chapter 7. Of the order of evil spirits and their fall and different natures. There are some of the school of theologians who distribute the evil spirits into 9 degrees, as contrary to the 9 orders of angels. Therefore, the first of these, which are called false gods, who usurping the name of God, would be worshipped for gods and require sacrifices and adorations. As that devil who said to Christ, "If thou wilt fall down and worship me, I will give thee all these things," shewing him that all the kingdoms of the world. And the prince of these is he who said, "I will ascend above the height of the clouds, and will be like to the Most High, who is called Beelzebub," that is, an old god. In the second place followed the spirits of lies, of which sort was he who went forth and was a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophet of Ahab. And the prince of these is the serpent Pytho, from whence Apollo is called Pythias. And that woman a Pythoness, or witch, in Samuel, and the other in the gospel, who had Pytho in her belly. Therefore these kind of devils join themselves to the oracles, and delude men by divinations and predictions, so that they may be deceived. In the third order are the vessels of iniquity, which are called vessels of wrath. These are the inventors of evil things and all wicked arts, as in Plato that devil Theaetus, who taught cards and dice. For all wickedness, malice, and deformity proceeds from these, of which in Genesis, in the benedictions of Simeon and Levi, Jacob said, Vessels of iniquity are in their habitations. Into their counsel let my soul. Whoops. I almost had that. I got to redo that, though. Vessels of Start from the quote, redo the quote, scroll up while I can. Vessels of iniquity are in their habitations. Into their counsel let not my soul come, which the psalmist calls vessels of death, Isaiah, vessels of fury, and Jeremiah, vessels of wrath, Ezekiel, vessels of destroying and slaying, and their prince is Belial, which signifies without a yoke and disobedient, a prevaricator, and an apostate, of whom Paul to the Corinthians says, What agreement has Christ with Belial? Fourthly, follow the revengers of evil, and their prince is Asmodeus, viz., causing judgment. After these, in the fifth place, come the deluders who imitate miracles and serve conjurers and witches, and seduce the people by their miracles, as the serpent seduced Eve. And their prince is Satan, of whom it is written in the Revelation that he seduces the whole world, doing great signs and causing fire to descend from heaven in the sight of men, seducing the inhabitants of the earth by these signs, which are given him to do. I'm just going to stop here quickly and look at this attachment. It's going to have, I think, the spirit Antichrist right there. Wolf is pretty creepy. And I was at the end of that right there. Sixthly, the aerial powers offer themselves and join themselves to thunder and lightning, corrupting the air, causing pestilences and other evils, in the number of which are the four angels of whom the Revelations speak, to whom it is given to hurt the earth and the sea, holding the four winds from the four corners of the earth, and their prince is called Merurim. He is the meridian devil, a boiling spirit, a devil raging in the south, whom Paul to the Ephesians calls the prince of the power of the air, and the spirit which works in the children of disobedience. The seventh mansion the Furies possess, who are powers of evil, discords, war, and devastation, whose name in the Revelation is called in Greek Apollyon, in the Hebrew Abaddon. Better redo that quickly. Whose name in the Revelation? Apollyon. Whose name in the Revelation is called in Greek Apollyon, in the Hebrew Abaddon, that is, destroying and wasting. In the eighth place are the accusers or inquisitors, whose prince is Astaroth, that is, a searcher out. In the Greek language, he is called Diabolus, that is, an accuser or calumniator, which in the Revelation is called the accuser of the brethren, accusing them night and day before the face of God. Moreover, the tempters and ensnarers have the last place, one of which is present with every man, which we call the evil genius, and their prince is Mammon, which is interpreted covetousness. But we of the Kabbalah unanimously maintain that evil spirits do wander up and down this inferior world, enraged against all whom we call devils, of whom Austin, in his first book in the Incarnation of the Word to Janerius, says, concerning the devils and his angels contrary to virtues, the ecclesiastical preachers have taught that there are such things, but what they are and who they are, he has not clear enough expounded. Yet there is his... Just redo that quickly. Yet there is this opinion among them that this devil was an angel, and being made an apostate, persuaded many of the angels to fall with him, who to this day are called his angels. Greece, notwithstanding, thinks not that these are damned, nor that they are purposely all evil, but that from the creation of the world the dispensation of things is ordained by this means, that the tormenting of sinful souls is made over to them. The other theologians say that no devil was created evil, but that they were driven and cast out of heaven from the orders of good angels, for their pride was fall. I'm going to cheat that sentence there. For their pride, whose fall not only are and the Hebrew theologians, but also the Assyrians, Arabians, Egyptians, and Greeks do confirm by their tenets. Pharisees, the Assyrian, describes the fall of the devils, and Ophis, that is, the devilish serpent, was the head of that rebelling army. Trismegistus sings the same fall in his Pymander, and Homer under the name of Erarsus. I'm going to redo that quickly. In his Pymander. And Homer under the name of Erarsus in his verses, and Plutarch in his discourse on usury, signifies that Empedocles knew that the fall of the devils was in this manner. The devils themselves often confess their fall, they being cast out into this valley of misery. Some that are near to us wander up and down in this obscure air. Others inhabit lakes, rivers, and seas. Others the earth and terrify earthly things and invade those who dig wells and metals, causing the gaping of the earth to strike together the foundations of the mountains and vex not only men but also other creatures. Some being content with laughter and delusion only, do contrive rather to weary men than to hurt them. Some heightening themselves to the length of a giant's body and again shrinking themselves down to the smallest of pygmies, and changing themselves into different forms to disturb men with vain fear. Others study lies and blasphemies, as we read of one in third book of Kings, saying, I will go forth and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all the prophets of Ahab. But the worst sort of devils are those who lie in wait and overthrow passengers in their journeys, and rejoice in wars and effusion of blood, and afflict men with most cruel stripes. We read of such in Matthew, for fear of whom no man dare pass that way. Moreover, the scripture reckons up nocturnal, diurnal, and meridional devils, and describes other spirits of wickedness by different names, as we read in Isaiah of satyrs, screech owls, sirens, storks, owls, and in the Psalms of asps, basilisks, lions, dragons. And in the gospel we read of scorpions and mammon, and the prince of this world, and rulers of darkness, of all whom Beelzebub is the prince, whom Scripture calls the prince of wickedness. Chapter 8. Of the annoyance of evil spirits, and the preservation we have from good spirits. It is the opinion of divines that all evil spirits are of that nature, that they hate God as well as man. Therefore, divine providence has set a Let me redo that quickly and make sure that's at the right spot. Okay, that's going to be okay. Where was I? Therefore, divine providence has set over us more pure spirits, with whom he hath entrusted us, as with shepherds and governors, that they should daily help us and drive away evil spirits from us, and curb and restrain them, that they should not hurt us, as they would otherwise. As is read in Tobias, that Raphael did apprehend the demon called Asmodeus, and bound him in the wilderness of the upper Egypt. Of these, Hesiod says there are 30,000 of Jupiter's immortal spirits living on the earth, who are the keepers of mortal men, who, that they might observe justice and merciful deeds, have clothed themselves with air, go to and fro everywhere on the earth. For there's no potentate could be safe, nor any woman continue uncorrupted. No man in this vile. Whoops. I'll just redo that sentence over quickly. For there is no potentate could be safe, nor any woman continue uncorrupted. No man in this veil of ignorance could come to the end appointed to him by God, if good spirits did not secure us, or if evil spirits should be permitted to satisfy the wills of men. As therefore among the good there is a proper keeper or protector deputed to everyone, corroborating the spirit of the man to good, so of evil spirits there is sent forth an enemy ruling over the flesh and desire thereof. And the good spirit fights for us as a preserver against the enemy and flesh. Now man between these contenders is in the middle and left in the hands of his own counsel, to whom he will give victory. We cannot therefore accuse angels or deny free will, if they do not bring the nations entrusted to them to the knowledge of the true God and true piety, but suffer them to fall into errors and perverse worship. It is to be imputed to themselves, who have of their own accord declined from the right path, adhering to the spirits of error, giving victory to the devil. For it is in the hand of man to adhere to whom he pleases, and overcome who he will. By whom if once the devil be overcome, he is made his servant, and being overcome cannot fight any more with another, as a wasp that has lost his sting. To which opinion Origen assents in his book Periacon, concluding what the saints fight against evil spirits. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. My cat is starting to get antsy. Now she's going to go on my lap. Okay, let me try and readjust here, and so she stops and settles down. Come on, sweetie, get down. Concluding what the saints fight against evil spirits. I'm going to go back to that beginning of that sentence. To which opinion? To which. Come on, there she goes. All right. She does her little analysis of the lap, and then does a circle 2 or 3 times, and then finally settles down. So she's been very mischievous these days, not letting me do what I normally do. Lost his sting. All right, here we go back to it. Thanks for that. Sorry. Periacon. Check. To which opinion Origen assents in his book Periacon. To which opinion Origen assents in his book Periacon, concluding that the saints fight against evil spirits, and overcoming do lessen their army. Neither can he that is overcome by any molest any more. As therefore there is given to every man a good spirit, so there is given to every man an evil diabolical spirit, whereof each seeks in union with our spirit and endeavors to attract it to itself, and to be mixed with it as wine with water. The good indeed, through all good works conformable to itself, change us into angels by uniting us. As it is written of John the Baptist in Malachi, behold, I send my angel before thy face, of which transmutation and union it is written elsewhere. He that adheres. Wow, excuse me. That burp slipped out. I'm going to cheat that one. He that adheres to God is made one spirit with him. An evil spirit also by evil works studies to make us conformable to itself and unite us, as Christ says of Judas. Have not I chosen 12, and one of you is a devil? And this is that which Hermes says, when a spirit hath influence on the soul of man, he scatters the seed of his own notion. Whence such a soul, being sown with seeds and full of fury, brings forth thence wonderful things, and whatsoever are the offices of spirits. For when a good spirit hath influence on a holy soul, it does exalt it to the light of wisdom. But an evil spirit, being transfused into a wicked soul, doth stir it up to theft, to manslaughter, to lust, and whatsoever are the offices of evil spirits. Good spirits, as Iamblichus says, purge the souls most perfectly, and some bestow upon us other good things. They, being present, do give health to the body, virtue to the soul, and security. What is mortal in us they take away, cherish heat, and make it more efficacious to life. And by an harmony do always infuse light into an intelligible mind. But whether there be many keepers of a man or one alone, theologians differ among themselves. We think there are more, the prophet saying, He hath given his angels a charge concerning thee, that they should keep thee in all thy ways. Which, as Heriom says, it is to be understood of any man as well as of Christ. All men, therefore, are governed by the ministry of different angels, and are brought to any degree of virtue, deserts, and dignity, who behave themselves worthy of them. But they who carry themselves unworthy of them are deposed and thrust down, as well by evil spirits as good spirits, unto the lowest degree of misery, as their evil merits shall require. But they that are attributed to the sublimer angels are preferred before other men. For angels, having the care of them, exalt them and subject others to them by a certain occult power, which, although neither of them perceive, yet he that is subjected feels a certain yoke of presidency, of which he cannot easily quit himself. Yea, he fears and reverences that power which the superior angels make to flow upon inferiors, and with a certain terror bring the inferiors into a fear of presidency. This did Homer seem to be sensible of, when he says that the Muses begot of Jupiter did always, as inseparable companions, assist the kings begot of Jupiter, speaking figuratively, who by them were made venerable and magnificent. So we read that Monsieur Antoninus, being formerly joined in a singular friendship with Octavius Augustus, were accustomed always to play together. But when, as always, Augustus went away, gonna redo that. Okay, scroll up while I can. Here we go. But when, as always, Augustus always went away conqueror, a certain magician counseled Monsieur Antoninus thus: O Anthony, what dost thou do with that young man? Shun and avoid him, for although thou art older than he, and art more skilful than he, and art better descended than he, and hath endured the wars of more emperors, yet thy genius doth much dread the genius of this young man, and thy fortune flatters his fortune. Unless thou shalt shun him, it seems holy to decline to him. Is not the prince like other men? How should other men fear and reverence him, unless a divine terror should exalt him, and striking a fear into others, depress them, that they should reverence him as a prince? Wherefore we must endeavor that, being purified by doing well and following sublime things, and choosing opportune times and seasons, we be entrusted or committed to a degree of sublimer and more potent angels, who, taking care of us, we may deservedly be preferred before others. Chapter 9. That there is a threefold keeper of man, and from whence each of them proceed. Every man hath a threefold good demon as a proper keeper or preserver, the one whereof is holy, another of the nativity, and the other of profession. The holy demon is one, according to the doctrine of the Egyptians, assigned to the rational soul, not from the stars or planets, but from a supernatural cause, from God himself, the president of demons, being universal and above nature. This directs the life of the soul and does always put good thoughts into the mind, being always active in illuminating us, although we do not always take notice of it. But when we are purified and live peaceably, then it is perceived by us. Then it does, as it were, speak with us and communicates its voice to us, being before silent and studies daily to bring us to a sacred perfection. So it falls out that some profit more in any science or art or office in a less time and with little pains, when another takes much pains and studies hard and all in vain. And although no science, art, or virtue is to be contemned, yet that you may live prosperously, carry on thy affairs happily in the first place, know thy good genius and his nature, and what good the celestial disposition promises thee, and God the distributor of all these, who distributes to each as he pleases, and follow the beginnings of these, profess these, be conversant in that virtue to which the Most High Distributor doth elevate and lead thee, who made Abraham excel in justice and clemency, Isaac with fear, Jacob with strength, Moses with meekness and miracles, Joshua. Why did I pronounce that wrong? Joshua in war, Phinehas in zeal, David in religion and victory, Solomon in knowledge and fame, Peter in faith, John in clarity, Jacob in devotion, Thomas in prudence, Magdalene in contemplation, Martha in officiousness. Therefore, in what virtue you can think, let me redo that quickly. Therefore, in what virtue you think you can most easily be a proficient in, use diligence to attain to the height thereof, that you may excel in one when in many you cannot, but in the rest endeavor to be as great as proficient as you can. But if thou shalt have the so I'm gonna redo the other one. Well, should I? No, I'll just redo that. But if thou shalt have the overseers. Sometimes if I know I kind of didn't do the other sentence like 100%, then I'll go back all the way. But if thou shalt have the overseers of nature and religion agreeable, thou shalt find a double progress of thy nature and profession. But if they shall be disagreeing, follow the better, for thou shalt better perceive at some time a preserver of an excellent profession than of nativity. Chapter 10. Of the tongue of angels, and of their speaking amongst themselves and with us. We might doubt whether angels or demons, since they are pure spirits, use any vocal speech or tongue among themselves or to us, but that Paul in some place says, if I speak with the tongue of men or angels, but what their speech or tongue is much doubted by many. For many think that if they use any idiom, it is Hebrew, because that was first of all and came from heaven, and was before the confusion of languages in Babylon, in which the law was given by God the Father, and the gospel was preached by Christ the Son, and so many oracles were given to the prophets by the Holy Ghost. And seeing all tongues have and do undergo various mutations and corruptions, this alone does always continue inviolated. Moreover, an evident sign of this opinion is that though this demon and intelligence do use the speech of those nations with whom they do inhabit, yet to them who understand it, they never speak in any idiom but in this alone, viz., Hebrew. But now, how angels speak, it is hid from us, as they themselves are. Now to us, that we may speak a tongue is necessary with other instruments, as the jaws, palate, lips, teeth, throat, lungs, the aspera, artertia, and muscles of the breast, which have the beginning of motion from the soul. But if I speak at a distance to another, he must use a louder voice. But if near, he whispers in my ear, as if he should be coupled to the hearer, without any noise, as an image in the eye or glass. So souls going out of the body, so angels, so demons speak, And what man does with a sensible voice, they do by impressing the conception of the speech in those to whom they speak, after a better manner than if they should express it in an audible voice. So the Platonist says that Socrates perceived his demon by sense, indeed, but not of this body, but by the sense of the ethereal body concealed in this, after which manner Avicen believes the angels were wont to be seen and heard by the prophets. That instrument, whatsoever the virtue be, by which one spirit makes known to another spirit what things are in his mind, is called by the Apostle Paul the tongue of angels. Yet oftentimes they send forth an audible voice, as they that cried at the ascension of the Lord, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye here gazing unto the heaven? And in the old law they spake with diverse of the fathers with a sensible voice, but this never but when they assumed bodies. But with what sense these spirits and demons hear our invocations and prayers, and see our ceremonies, we are altogether ignorant. For there is a spiritual body of demons everywhere, sensible by nature, so that it touches, sees, hears without any medium, and nothing can be an impediment to it. Yet they do not perceive after the same manner as we do, with different organs, but haply, with different organs, but happily. I have to go back to that beginning one there. Yet they do not perceive after the same manner as we do, with different organs, but haply as sponges drink in water, so do they all sensible things with their body or some other way unknown to us. Neither are all animals endowed with those organs, for we know that many want ears, yet we know they perceive a sound, but after what manner we know not. Oh, there we have it. That's it for today. This next one we'll do probably on Thursday. I'll do chapter 11 of the names of spirits and their various imposition. And then what's after that? The Kabbalists draw forth the sacred names of angels from sacred writing. That'll be interesting. I'll have to do some deciphering of this Hebrew stuff. Try and figure out some pronunciations. This will get a little bit more complicated. Yeah, that'll be fun though. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you for listening and watching or whatever, and check out our channel. All the huge catalog of ancient texts and stuff like that. Some really cool books. Find all our work on Spotify and Audible too. Good way to support us. I'm not working now, just doing this, so it's always good to keep it going if we can. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you again. Love you.